Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Krishnan College, episode 7. And today we have a extremely special guest, one of the most dedicated learners and scholars that I have ever met, Jason Kaufmann. What's up, Jason? How's it going?
That's quite the introduction. Thank you, Akshay. I'm doing good. I'm just happy to be here.
Sure. So, for those who don't know, Jason is really effective at running all aspects of his life in a very organized and passionate way. And no pun intended, you guys will see what I mean later in the episode. Through his research initiatives and the stuff he's been able to do in the classroom, Jason really serves as an inspiration to me as his peer. So, he has a lot of good advice to offer and I am very excited for y'all to get a chance to hear from him. So, Jason, let's get a quick introduction from your perspective. Tell the viewers a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, hi everyone. My name's Jason. I'm going to be a junior at Penn State this year. I'm double majoring in chemistry and biology. Outside of the classroom, I am involved with the Public Health Club as their president. I also help run Scholar Ambassadors, which is basically like we act as liaisons between the Honors College at Penn State and then prospective students and families. I'm also involved as a TA for general chemistry courses, in LA for organic chemistry, and then I do some other research at Penn State as well.
Awesome. Thanks for that description, Jason. So, let's go back to before your Penn State life, back when you were in high school. So, were you always a strong student who knew what they had to do in the classroom, or did that just click for you at some point throughout your high school journey?
Yeah, I would say I've always loved to learn, and I feel like I attribute most of that to my older sisters. I'm the youngest of three, and I remember at a young age, like both of my older sisters would love to play school with me. So they taught me like my times tables well before we actually learned it in school. And they actually, I felt like, especially in my early years, they taught me a lot of what I knew and like gave me that foundation. And I think that that kind of helped develop my love for learning. And then, yeah, I would say since then, it has come naturally in some courses, but there have definitely been some where I've really had to work to get a good grade. So it hasn't all been easy, but I would say the passion for learning has always been there.
Right, definitely. And I bet that that was really important when you were going through your college decision part of your journey. So I guess just walk us through that. What were you considering when you were deciding what school to attend and like really put your love of learning towards?
So when I was applying to colleges, I knew I wanted a bigger school. I went to a big high school, and I what I kind of liked about that was you got to choose who you associated with, who you saw a lot, and who you spent your time with. So I wanted a university where I could choose who I spent my time with. I wasn't with the same people every single day. And I also wanted to go somewhere where I knew that I would have all the opportunities possible, that if I didn't do something, it wasn't because of a lack of opportunity. And I felt like because of that, I knew that a big school was a good fit for me. And I also wanted a school with strong academics. I feel like I worked really hard in high school to get good grades. And I wanted to go somewhere that those grades would allow me to get into, and then also somewhere that would allow me to, that would keep pushing me in college as well.
Right, like that sounds really relatable, and I think that's a position that a lot of students are in when when they are coming out of high school. So I guess when you were going through the application process, what were some things that you did to like to help showcase the colleges that you had that passion for learning and that you wanted to continue learning?
Mm. I would say for me, it was about showing everything that I did outside of the classroom as well. And that includes academic clubs. Because at the end of the day, grades are just, letters or numbers on your transcript. So showing that I did a lot of academic clubs that I was really interested in. And then outside of academics, for me, it was just important to show them that I'm still a person. I'm not just a robot who goes to school. Like wanted to show, I wanted to let my passions shine through, you know. I played tennis in high school, so I wrote some essays about that and just other clubs that I was a part of, some community service that I did. So just really trying to show me as a whole person and not just Jason the student.
Right. I think that's a part of college applications that often gets overlooked. Like you are really more than just your test scores or the values on your transcript. It is really important to showcase that student perspective. And during your time at Penn State, I think that you've really showcased your passions outside the classroom as well. Like for example, being a leader within distance with the dean. So do you want to explain what that is and explain to our viewers what you've been able to do with that club?
Yeah, definitely. I should have mentioned that in my introduction. Distance with the Dean is probably my favorite, one of my favorite involvements at Penn State. We're a running group within the Honors College, and we meet about once a month or so, and we run about a 5K with the Dean of the Honors College, and it's open to all students. It's mostly kids in the Honors College, but there are really some people who go who aren't even in the Honors College. They just like the sense of community, and it's a really good way to start the weekend. And then after we get back from the run, we always have donuts, good conversation, music. So we tried to transform from just a group of people who get together once a month to, really a community. We tried to have a bigger social media presence. We tried to organize some runs in our group outside of like the regularly scheduled ones with the dean. So we're really trying, I feel like we were successful in scaling it this year.
Yeah.
And then next year, it's just going to be about continuing to grow that presence online. What I like most is really trying to get people to join who weren't runners before. We do have a lot of runners in the club, but like for me, my favorite part is just the conversations and the people.
Hmm.
And for us, it's not about time or how fast we go. It's just about, trying to create this space where people of all skill levels, all abilities feel comfortable and feel welcome.
Yeah, as someone who's a part of that community as well, Jason really hit the nail on the head. Something that is often overlooked when you're deciding, oh, which school do I go to, is really if you can form a community within that environment. So I think that that's something that is really important to look for in the variety of awesome options that you guys eventually get accepted to. And I think the Schreyer Honors College has really worked for Jason and I, giving us a chance to really connect with our peers and with faculty like such as Dean Mather, amongst many other amazing faculty members who are all there to help students succeed beyond just their transcript or like just what they say in job interviews. It's really that like social emotional health that is really emphasized within those environments. So I think that that is just great. Thanks for sharing that tidbit, Jason. So I
Yeah.
guess, so I guess just going back to some of the things that you've been involved with at Penn State, it's um, clear that your passion for teaching has led to some opportunities as being a TA and an LA at college. So just go through that experience and what's that's like.
Yeah, that's been a really eye-opening experience. There's definitely a learning curve to being in LA because I feel like learning something in a course and knowing something well enough to teach it are two very different things. And I think I kind of underestimated the gap between the two. So I was in LA for both semesters last year. And I would say my favorite part of being in LA were some of the times in office hours where when you finally explain a concept to students and you see like that light bulb moment where they finally understand it. It was just really rewarding because especially with the class that I LA'd for, there was about 250 kids in the class.
Mm,
So there's really not a big sense of connection with the professors generally, even though I LA'd for a great professor. So that kind of made it easier to teach the students. It's sometimes hard in those big lecture classes. So if you do find yourself in one of those classes, definitely take advantage and go to office hours because the LAs and TAs really do want to help you. Um, And yeah, it's just been a great way to, I feel like, develop like a deeper understanding of the content. But then also seeing those light bulb moments just makes it really rewarding. And it's definitely serves as reminders that it's worth it 100%.
Yeah, for sure. As someone who's had the opportunity to kind of serve as a mentor in research roles as well, I think that that experience can be really eye-opening, and it's something that that students entering college should be mindful of, and they should keep that in their mind as they select activities to pursue. I'm sure you would agree with this, Jason, but pursuing any type of mentorship or teaching opportunity can really enable you to grow as a person as well by kind of showing you the other side of the coin. And those skills have proven to be useful for me carrying over to an industry setting, and I'm sure that they've been useful to you, Jason, this summer going on to an REU at NC State. So that is a really interesting opportunity. So tell the viewers about what an RU actually is and what you've been able to do at NC State this summer.
Yeah, so I'm spending the summer at NC State in one of their REUs. It's centered around, well, so I should start with an REU. It stands for Research Experience for Undergraduates. It's basically like an 8 to 10 week research program where you get paid to work full time. So it's a 9 to 5 position, and they help cover, well, they give you a stipend. They pay for generally your room and board and like your transportation to and from the REU. And you're a full-time researcher for the summer in a research lab. In most cases, you're going to be working with some sort of grad student. So, like, I have a mentor who's a PhD student. Well, he just got his PhD, so he's actually a
Oh,
postdoc
congrats to
now.
him. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's a really cool opportunity because the one thing with doing research as an undergraduate is that you're balancing so many other things, as I'm sure Akshay can attest to. You have your classes, your other clubs. REUs are just a really great way to take a deep dive into a project that you're interested in. So in my case, my REU is centered around bioimaging, which is essentially the different forms of microscopy that exist. So everybody's familiar probably with the traditional light microscopes that you use in biology, but there's a bunch of other high-tech microscopes that these researchers use. And what my lab does is we're investigating the connection between traumatic brain injury and Alzheimer's. So we're going to look at how does having Alzheimer's affect your susceptibility to traumatic brain injury? And then kind of the flip side of that coin, how could having traumatic brain injury earlier in life affect your susceptibility to getting Alzheimer's later? Um, so it's an area that I'm really interested in, and it's really nice to just, like I said, take a deeper dive into it while I don't have classes or other commitments.
Yeah, for sure. And that research and work sounds super interesting. So you'll have to keep me and I'm sure the viewers can connect with you on LinkedIn, but you'll have to keep us updated on the progress. Really cool. So I guess just to go back to something that you mentioned before, like serving as a researcher in the Ferrari Lab during the semester for you, like you had to really manage a lot of tasks at the same time. And I'm sure that time management proved to be a valuable skill. So what were some things that you did to excel at that?
One thing I do, and it might sound cliche or obvious, is just really don't procrastinate, because when you put yourself in that hole, it can be really hard to dig yourself out. So just try to stay on top of it, even if something isn't due for a while. It's never too early to at least get started on it. Um, and then definitely planners are your friend, whether you like
Right.
electronic ones or paper ones. I like the classic paper and pencil ones, but try to schedule as much as you can, because just having it in writing, you're going to stick to it. And that can extend beyond just classwork. If you have been trying to exercise more and you're struggling, I find that just writing it down and saying that, like, no matter what else is going on in my life, I'm going to work out for this half hour on this weekday. You're
Mhm.
more likely to do it. Or if you struggle with making time for social things, schedule that, write down, like 1 or 2 nights this week, I'm going to do something with friends. So just trying to take advantage, planners as much as you can, staying on top of things, don't procrastinate, and then also just make friends in your classes. I feel like that makes things a lot easier. It's a lot easier to study and learn with others than it is by yourself, especially for some of the more challenging courses. So for me, it's about working smarter, not necessarily harder. So I feel like if you find a good group that you connect with in your classes, you won't have to spend as much time on these assignments as you might have to otherwise.
Right, that makes sense. And just like going back to your role as a TA or an LA, like is that something that you also help facilitate amongst your students in those roles?
Yeah, it's been really great since the classes that I LA'd for were classes that I took myself. I've been able to, show some of the students the study guides that I made and share some of my study tips with them. So that's another thing beyond just teaching them the course content, to trying to share some of those things that I learned along the way, some of the things that I did well, and then also some of the things that I didn't do well, so they don't make the same mistakes that I do.
Got it. Like, so you heard it here, folks. That's why it is very important to maintain a good relationship with your LAs and TAs, because then you can get that additional insight that can really help you succeed. So, yeah, so it's awesome that you're able to do that for our peers at Penn State, Jason. So that's sweet. So now, while we stay on this kind of like academic focused realm, you recently, or like, or maybe not recently, but like relatively recently decided to major in biology and chemistry, so doing a double major. So when exactly did that happen? And like was it a scary decision?
Yeah, it definitely was a little nerve-wracking because I was late to the game with switching my major. So I'll back up a little bit. I entered Penn State as a biology major. I didn't know what I wanted to do with that, but I just knew that I liked biology. It was something that interested me. I liked learning about how things worked at a cellular level. Um, so I just decided to pursue that further despite not really knowing what I wanted to do with it. And then I kind of got nervous because a lot of people in the biology major are pre-meds, but I don't think, well, I know that med school is not for me.
Mhm.
So I wanted to add some sort of double major just to be more employable. I feel like not that biology is bad by itself, but I just had the room in my schedule that I figured why not. So I decided to double major with statistics. And the reason for that was simply because I was good at math in high school. I was good at working with numbers, and statistics is almost, in my mind, like the complete opposite of biology. So I thought that it would give me a completely new skill set. But I quickly realized that being good at something and enjoying something are two really different things. So even though it's important to be good at, or even though it's valuable, I would say, to be good at what you're pursuing, just because you're good at something by itself is not enough to pursue it further. So you want to make sure that you're good at it and you have the passion for it. And I just didn't have the passion for statistics. But my favorite class I realized was chemistry.
Hmm.
And going back actually in high school, one of my favorite podcasts I found, it was called Chemistry for Your Life. And it was basically just explaining like the chemistry behind everyday things, like how does soap work? Why are spicy foods spicy? And these common questions that chemistry can explain. So looking back, I probably should have majored in chemistry from the start because that's where my interests have always been. Um, but I made that decision after my sophomore year spring semester. So like halfway through college, I just made that decision. So yeah, I guess the takeaway in that, long ramble is just make sure you're passionate about something when you pursue it, being good at it is not just enough of a reason. And then also it's not too late to switch. I like I said was late to the game. I made my decisions late, but just try to reflect on what you're interested in. It's okay to not know what you want to do with your life. I'd like to say I'm the king of not knowing what I want to do with my life. But what I do know is I know my interests, I know my core values, and if you have those and just trust that they're going to lead you to the right career, I think you're in a good position.
Yeah, that was a sensational, to quote you, Jason, ramble. Like, I think that that perfectly describes it. Like, passion is definitely really important for deciding what you want to pursue, especially when there's so many options out there and so many ways to really make a positive impact. But if you stay just true to your core values and passions, then, um, yeah, and then you can really find a field that works for you. So that is awesome. Well, so I guess. Let's see. What's one thing that you wish that someone told you before you started college?
Yeah, so for this one, it's kind of about the college application process. To be fully transparent, that was a really tough time for me applying to colleges. For me, I felt like my applications were my identity to an extent. And, I really rode that roller coaster of when I got into a school, it meant that I was a good person. And when I got rejected or waitlisted, it meant that, I wasn't worthy or I was a bad person. So, what I wish somebody told me then is to just not ride that roller coaster. At the end of the day, you can never know what's going through an admission counselor's head. You can never know exactly what a school is looking for. So I would just say focus on what you can control. If you can be proud of what you're doing, then that's all that matters. And, just really focus on what's in your control, not these things that are outside of your control, which I didn't do well. And then I would say about college, just try to do things outside your comfort zone.
Yeah.
It's a great time to try new things, to push yourself. So don't be afraid to say yes to new opportunities that scare you a little bit, because those are normally the ones that lead to the most growth.
Mm. Yeah, wait, that is really impactful advice, Jason. Um, thank you so much for sharing. So, I know that you are a huge football fan, to take it to like a little bit of a less serious note. So what's been your favorite football experience so far?
I would say my favorite football memory at Penn State was when we had college game day, which is like basically like a college football talk show, come to our school this past year.
Yes.
They came for the whiteout, which for Penn State, the whiteout is, the biggest sporting event of the year. So they came for that and just getting really good seats. Well, not seats. We got like to the front right by the stage for the show was pretty cool.
Really good standing area.
Really good standing area. And it's funny because the game ended up being a really heartbreaking loss.
Yep.
But I look back and I just feel like starting with, the show and then tailgating with, friends, including you, Akshay, like that was just one of my favorite days. So even though it ended in a loss, I look back at the day and that was one of my favorite Penn State football memories for sure.
Yeah, that was a long day too. So for those who end up committing to a big football school like Penn State, and you have and you have college game day come around, then I'm sure that me and Jason would advise forego sleep for that day. It'll be worth it. It's definitely super fun to just stand out there with your friends in the pitch black dark and then see the sun come over the valley mountains, and then you hear Pat McAfee just yelling on stage. You get to play rock, paper, scissors with one of the people standing on stage. Get some cool pictures. We saw, I think we saw like Shador Sanders one year. Was it Shador? Like he pulled up, I think that was 2 years ago, but we went to that one too.
Yeah, I think it was him and Travis Hunter were there, I'm pretty sure.
Yes, yes, yes. Travis Hunter was the one that like we saw. I think we got did we get a selfie with him or did he pass us?
Forget. I think you might have got a selfie with him though.
Yeah, maybe, maybe. But yeah, and you get to make some cool posters and I mean, like in the middle of all like the academics and learning that are happening, it is important to get out there and have fun. So that may not be college game day for some of you guys, but yeah, but but it's important you pick a place that has opportunities that like really let you thrive in a social sense as well. So, yes, thanks for sharing that experience, Jason. So, now, you mentioned before that like you don't really know exactly what your future has ahead. But if you had to take a guess, where do you see yourself in 10 years? Like med school, research, public health. Oh, well, we know it's not med school, but like research, public health, or industry, and have your experiences at Penn State shifted that picture at all?
Yeah, if I had to take my best guess, I would say it would be somewhere in drug development. Because
Hey, let's go. My type of
because
guy.
like I mentioned earlier, it's important to know your core values and your interests. So like I know that I want a career where I'm either helping others directly on an individual level or contributing to the greater good. I also want something that is academically challenging, and I'm really interested in science. So I would like to apply some sort of biology or chemistry knowledge, and I feel like research checks all those boxes. So if I had to take my best guess, that's where I'll be, even though my career path up until this point has been fluid. So even though I'm confident that my career will lie somewhere, in that area, it's still subject to change. And then Penn State has really just opened my eyes to how many opportunities there are, or like how many different jobs there are. We have a really good career development department. So I've met with career counselors at Penn State, and then also within the Honors College, we have our own career counselor. So between those types of events, between networking events and job fairs and info sessions, like once you go to college, just take advantage of all of those opportunities because free information and most of the times free food. So
Yes, the food is
that's
important.
just 100%. So Penn State's just really made me realize how many different careers there are out there. So um, there's no rush to figure it out right now.
Yep. Yep, that sounds really good, especially the food part. I'm kind of hungry now. So I think that we're nearing the end. Jason, do you have any final bits of advice going forward for our viewers?
Yeah, like I said earlier, just don't ride that roller coaster of college admissions and know that wherever you end up, you will make the most of it. You will be successful. You don't need a school to be successful. So I would just say that trust that wherever you end up, you have what it takes, and the school, has the offerings for you to be successful. And once you are, whatever school you end up at, just really take advantage of all that they have. Don't let it pass you by because it's crazy how fast college goes. I'd say faster than high school, definitely.
Yeah.
So just trust that you are where you're meant to be. And if you just take advantage of all of the opportunities that you have, I have no doubt that you're going to have a great experience.
All right, you heard it here, folks. You are where you're meant to be. Thank you so much, Jason, for this awesome episode. And this has been the Krishnan College Podcast, episode 7, live with Jason Kaufmann. Thank you so much for your time today, Jason. And everyone, have a good one.